Hello, today we're going to learn how to make two-part molds.
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Not that kind of mold. Anyway, we're going to learn how to duplicate small little items like these toy guns and Pokeball by making a mold by using Oyumaru. And I probably just butchered that name. Well, close enough. Here's the packaging. As you can see, the instructions are all in Japanese. So I'm going to rely on what the seller gave me for the instructions. First up, we need to heat a pot of water up to 176 degrees Fahrenheit or 80 degrees Celsius. So I have a thermometer here. I'm going to put in my water so I can keep an eye on it so I'll know when it's the approximate temperature. And we're going to let that heat up, and I will catch you guys in a minute or two or three, a few minutes. And while we're waiting for that water to heat up, you can either make two-part molds like this one here to make both sides of the guns, or you can make a simple one-sided mold like this one here. You can't tell what it is. Earlier I had taken a little piece when it was warm and pressed it against Taskmaster's belt buckle here to make a mold and filled it with clay, and we'll just pop it out. There it goes. We got the little emblem. Now these molds do stay flexible, so that's one nice thing about this product. So it's easy to pop things out once they're ready. Okay, now my water has heated up to 176 degrees Fahrenheit or 80 degrees Celsius. So we just take out one of these sticks and drop it in the pot and let it sit there for 3 minutes. And these molds are reusable, so I could throw these in and melt them down too. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. Now it's probably a good idea to use a separate pot for your crafting projects than one that you cook food with. So get yourself to a thrift store and buy a cheap pot, like Big Greenie here. Oh, our 3 minutes are up. So I am going to remove everything from the pot. And then the next step is you need to dry off the material with a paper towel. It's still a little bit warm, so be careful. At this point, the material is really soft. And you could break it apart with your hands, stretch it. So I'm going to try to make a mold of both of these guns here. So I'm just going to press them halfway down into the material and leave some space between them. And then let's do a mold for that Pokeball too. What you want to do next is take a paintbrush handle and just kind of make some indents in various places, so that way when we move on to the next step, you'll be able to line this mold up correctly. Now we need to let that sit for 5 to 10 minutes to harden up. And this part I didn't use, so we'll use it in the future. And you can still see it's still remaining pretty soft, so you do have some, well, a decent amount of work time with it. Okay, I'm not happy with how these molds came out. I think they came out a little on the thin side, so I'm just going to throw everything back in the water along with another stick. So it's a good thing this stuff is reusable. Okay, let's try this again. We start by drying it off. Oh, this one's still a little hot. Okay, this time I'm going to keep it thicker. I'm going to press my items about halfway into the mold. Oh, it's hot, hot, hot. And then take the paintbrush and make some little indents here, because we will be adding another piece on top of this one later on. And that will help us line them up in the future. So that one's much thicker. I'm happy with that one. So now we need to let it cool for about 10 to 5 minutes. We'll do 10 to be safe though. Okay, now I'm going to add the remaining 3 sticks to the water. Oops. And let that sit for 3 minutes. 3 minutes have passed, so I'm going to remove the sticks from the water. And dry them off like before. And this time, I'm just going to press them on top of the existing mold. And I'm trying to remember where my paintbrush holes are, like you could see one right there, so I could press it inside there too. And we pretty much have to do the same thing as before and let this sit for 10 minutes before we can work with it again. And here's our mold after 10 minutes have passed. Actually, it's been about a full day because I got distracted and wandered off and did something else. You can see that the Pokeball and the 2 guns are stuck inside the mold. And right now it kind of looks like a gelatinous cube ate a Pokemon hunter. And then it shriveled up and died from indigestion. Now I tried separating this before and it is pretty difficult. So I took a knife and I just kind of pried it open a bit to get it started, so you guys don't have to watch me struggle. Once you get this started, it's not so bad. There we go. And those items just come out really easily. Well, the guns anyway. Okay, well, we might have to push from the other side. There we go. Okay, and there's our mold. And those little indents we made with the paintbrush earlier, those are to help us line this up. Because if you don't make those, where's my example of that? Because if you don't make those, it's really hard to line up the mold and you get a gun that's off-centered like this one. Okay, the next part is we need to fill the mold, both sides of the mold, with your choice of clay or epoxy clay. I'm using epoxy sculpt. It comes in 2 parts that you mix together in equal proportions. Epoxy sculpt is kind of expensive though. There are cheaper versions out there, other brands. I think some people like using Milliput. So the instructions on this says that we have to mix equal parts for 2 minutes and to wear gloves while doing it. So you can get some cheap disposable gloves from Dollar Tree. You can get 10 for $1. You can't beat that. And one important thing to remember is not to use the same scoop when you're getting the 2 components out of this, because it will start to harden in the bottle and you don't want that. So I'm just pulling out 2 balls of clay that are roughly the same size. Maybe a little bit more of the dark one. And we just start mixing them together. Ooh, these gloves are big on me. They certainly don't fit like the picture on the packaging. Yeah, not the same thing. This is probably pretty annoying to watch, so I'm just going to speed this forward to 2 minutes from now. Okay, now I can start filling the molds, and the trick to filling the molds is to work with little small pieces of the clay instead of shoving in just a big giant wad. Especially in little tiny detailed areas, if I could point with these gloves on. Like here around the trigger part and that curvy thing that goes around the trigger. I probably should have looked at gun parts before I started this video so I don't sound like an idiot. Well, okay, so we're going to take a little tiny piece and kind of just fill in those troublesome areas first. Yeah, I just try to flatten the clay out so it's fairly level with the mold. Maybe stick out a little bit more. And you can use your fingernail to just pull off some of the excess clay. I'm having second thoughts about these Dollar Tree gloves. You guys might want to spend a couple more dollars or something and go to Walmart and get some better fitting ones. Unless you have big hands, then these would be great. The nice thing about this clear, oh geez, I forgot how to pronounce this stuff. Oyumaru? Yeah, let's go with that. Is that you can see underneath, make sure that you're getting all the details in the mold. It does come in other colors though, but I really like the clear just because you could see better. I have one side of the mold done, so I'm just going to continue the process of filling in the indents on the opposite side. I have the molds filled in, plenty of leftover clay, so I just line up the two molds. Well, two halves of the mold. What is that? Extra clay. Okay. And then squish them together. You can apply plenty of pressure to this. And you can see that the excess clay is kind of squirting along the edges. That's what you want though. Don't worry, we can always trim that off later. And you want to follow the directions on your clay and wait for however long it says until it's dry before you open up this mold. And this is another reason why I didn't want to make the mold too thin, because when you're squishing it, you don't want to squish all the clay out. Now I have a lot of leftover clay I need to make something with. Last time I had leftover clay, Wasp ended up getting some loafers or slippers. I haven't decided yet. Another day has passed, so the epoxy sculpt has had time to cure, so let's open up this mold and see how it turned out. And you can see that we do have excess clay on here, but we can clean that up with either a hobby knife or an X-Acto knife. And here's the Pokeball. It came out kind of lumpy after cutting off that flashing, but I think it'll look better with sanding, so I'm going to give that a try. And here's the Pokeball after sanding. While it's a lot less lumpy, I think I may have over-sanded parts of it, like on the sides. It's less of a ball now. Well, lesson learned. Smaller objects are harder to duplicate. But at least it still fits in Ash's hand. So here are the finished casts. I think the guns turned out great. The Pokeball? Not so much. I guess I need a little more practice. But you get the general idea. I hope this video helps you duplicate your own little accessories. But before you go, I have some photos to share from viewers who gave some of my previous projects a try. First up is Abhishek Raj Photography from Facebook, who made the sunglasses for Hawkeye. Wonderful work as always. And then The Dark Knight from Twitter made lightning for his reverse flash. I love the colors on this. If you want to try making any of those items, check out my playlist of crafting for action figures and other toys for the instructions. And if you do try any of my projects, I'd love to be able to share your photos too. Just send me a link to your pictures in the comments below, or send them to me on the social media site. So, what are we making next week? I'm not sure yet, but hopefully I will see you then.